Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Millennials. This episode I'm sharing is an episode where I was the guest. I jumped on the Marketing Demystified podcast and we talked about all things LinkedIn growth. We got into why commenting is one of the fastest ways to grow on LinkedIn, how to think about your content in 3 buckets, and why posting for yourself instead of your audience is the biggest mistake I see people make. If you're trying to build on LinkedIn, this is a great episode for you to listen to. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Marketing Millennials, the No BS Marketing Podcast. I'm Daniel Murray, and join me for unfiltered conversations with the brains behind marketing's coolest companies. The one request I tell our guests, stories or it didn't happen. Get ready to turn the up.
Hello, everyone. Are you ready to be inspired, informed, and empowered with actionable tips to transform your marketing game? You are in the right place. Welcome to Marketing Demystified. I'm your host, Jenn, CEO and co-founder of GrowGetter, your growth marketing partner. So many people post on LinkedIn, maybe see a very little bit of traction or none at all, and then quietly deprioritize it. But LinkedIn is still one of the few platforms where organic reach is genuinely available. And the founders and other executives who have figured out how to grow on LinkedIn are building real business momentum. So today I'm joined by Daniel Murray, founder of the Marketing Millennials and Authority, a B2B LinkedIn growth agency that has helped build multiple 7-figure media brands using LinkedIn as their number 1 organic channel. Today, you'll learn what the algorithm rewards, how to write posts that perform, why commenting is one of the fastest growth levers most people ignore, and how to turn one piece of content into something that works across multiple channels. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be fun. And we're on LinkedIn, so this is a good place to talk about LinkedIn.
Totally. I'm a huge LinkedIn fan, but it can be a little bit of a mystery to people sometimes. And even people that it performs really well for, it's not always like an exact science of, add these 3 ingredients and get this, delicious dessert at the end, right? Sometimes it works the way you expect it to, and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm excited to dig into some of the tactics that you've put in place that work.
Yeah, excited. Let's dive in.
Awesome. So LinkedIn has kind of a reputation of being hard to grow. And I think that's becoming increasingly more true for brand pages and company pages. People really follow people on LinkedIn. And sometimes companies struggle to keep consistent on their brand pages if they're not getting as much engagement. So before we get into growing on LinkedIn, can you talk a little bit about why founders should see LinkedIn as a channel for business growth in the first place? And what makes it beneficial over some of the other channels?
Yeah, I think one, obviously people are in the mindset of being in the business mindset on LinkedIn. So your audience is there. For most of the people, I would say if you're a plumber or something else, you probably should find a channel where your audience lives. But for a lot of businesses, your audience lives on LinkedIn. They're in the mindset of business when they're on LinkedIn. So, and what I've been seeing over at least the last year is people pages are what people are following. So if you have a company, you should have a founder and multiple execs sharing your company mission, your company, what you believe in, stories. There's a lot of things we can go into of what you should be posting, but it's a missed opportunity if you're not sharing on LinkedIn, because there's not enough posts on LinkedIn. And even if it feels like that, so the opportunity for organic growth and organic scaling is huge. But I know we'll get into some tactics on how to do it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're right that it is LinkedIn is for people to follow people, but in the business mindset. And we really are speaking to a B2B audience. So your point about a plumber, if you're if B2C, maybe LinkedIn isn't your space, and that's okay. But when we're talking about B2B businesses, that is where you want to be. And people really do follow people. But I think that like the brand pages have their own kind of role. And I like to look at them maybe with like different metrics in mind or different success in mind, where a lot of companies are struggling to like build following on their brand pages on LinkedIn. But if your executives are really engaged on an individual level, first of all, it does help drive traffic to your brand page. And I like to think of a brand page as more of a landing spot that, you know, when I'm discovering a new business for the first time, one of the first things I'm going to do is see if they're active on LinkedIn and what kind of content they're posting. Maybe I'm not engaging with that content or I'm never going to follow their page, but I think it serves a little bit of a different purpose. And I think you're right that it's a missed opportunity if you as an individual within your business that you're trying to grow are not posting your own individual content, just leaning too heavily on the brand content, because I think it serves like a much different purpose.
I would actually say that and I know you've said this at the beginning, you can grow on a company page, and the way you grow on a company page, what I've seen in at least the last like year is through comments, like being the social part of social media. Social media is actually two things, and people put it as one role. There's a social part, which is like actually being active on social media, making comments, responding to people that are like you in your community. And then the media part is distributing content. So what I've been seeing is that 3 or 4 years ago, you could post a bunch of things on your company page and there was scale there. Now there's less scale there, because I think a year ago, LinkedIn decided that they're prioritizing people over companies. So like only 1 or 2% of company pages get shown in the feed. So the way to do that, last year, LinkedIn launched a feature called Common Impressions, and Common Impressions, if you get impressions by comments, people will see you in the feed, and you're basically hijacking people's posts. Not hijacking, but being a part of someone who's popular's posts. And if your post does well, you're going to get followers back to your page, and you'll be more active. So I've been focusing more on the commenting strategy on the brand page, and on personal pages, I've been following more. But I do believe you should still be posting on your company page and being active on your company page, because I do think it is not only a landing page for your business, but also a place where you could share your perspective, be a thought. Your company could be trailblazing a thought, like some thought leadership content on there, your point of view, show your personality. So I think there is a space for that. But the best combination is when you have executives posting. I think now people have coined the term employee generated content. If your company, people in your company are posting along with your company page, that's like the ultimate strategy I've seen, is having both those posts at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, wait. So let's hold on to stick on commenting strategy for a little bit, because there's a lot of different ways that this can come into play. So when you talk about a commenting strategy for your brand page, wasn't always possible, but it is possible now to comment on other people's posts as a company page. And so I, as an individual, can comment on my own company content. I, as a company, can comment on other people's content. Like, what are some of the different things that you recommend? And like, how should somebody think about commenting as a strategy on its own?
So what I do is I have a bank of posts that are already made, that if they fit a certain type of like perspective I want to share on someone's post, I'll add that. So there's two ways to think about commenting strategy. One is testing ideas you want to create content for, because it's like a low lift way of testing to see, does this idea hit or not? And if it does hit, I can now put it on the main feed. That's one. The second thing is remixing content. So content that you've seen perform before, you can bring it back as comments and get engagement that way. And you'll be seen in the feed more as a comment. Mm-hmm. And then the third strategy, like what I do, since I'm a meme guy, I have like different meme templates in one place. And if I want to like quickly, like if I see a post that's interesting, I'll go into my meme templates. I'll be like, okay, this is the perfect meme for this post. I'm going to comment from the Marketing Millennials, or I'll comment from Daniel Murray, and because I already have this banked amount of posts that is saved in on Notion or however you want to save your posts. So I recommend that you build like a content library where you're ready to post. And I think most people don't do that for commenting strategy. They do things on the fly, or they use AI, or they say something. But commenting is really a way to get yourself to stand out as a brand. And I'm growing the same amount I'm growing on my company page than I through comments as I did 2 years ago, where I was just posting on the main grid and not doing as many comments. So commenting is a huge growth for company pages. So if your company page, I recommend having a commenting strategy.
Yeah, that's a great tip to have a bank of sort of like your perspective. If you have a thought on a particular topic, to just have that ready, so you're not having to create it from scratch every time. I think that's such a great tip. And you're right. People think about doing that for content, but maybe not for commenting. I also love your recommendation of like, if you've got content that performed well that you've posted in the past, maybe it goes in your comment bank. I also think of it the opposite way. Like if I comment on somebody's content and my comment gets a lot of engagement, if you get a lot of people reacting to it and replying to it, then that's an indication it might be something that you want to write about. Which I know we're all over the place. We're out of order in terms of our conversation today, but that's just I'm excited to that you brought up commenting early. But I think it's a great way to kind of, when you see what works and what gets engagement, to repurpose that and use it other ways.
I also think it's a easier way to not, if you have a brand that has huge brand guidelines, it's an easy way to kind of step and test a little bit outside the brand guidelines to prove that this will work as a post before you post it on the main grid and have to have that conversation. So it's a good way I love comments as a testing way of testing posts to see if they will work on the main grid. A lot of times I will test posts before I ever post it on the main feeds as comments. So some of my best viral posts were comments before. So
wow. Yeah. So it's super important to have a commenting strategy for sure. All right. Before we get too far down the hole of, doing things that work and making those recommendations, I want to talk a little bit about what doesn't work. What are some common mistakes that you see on LinkedIn that brands or founders are making that are just killing their performance before it even starts?
Yeah, I think there are a couple. One is, I think so many people are writing like personal journals instead of like writing for their audience. Like you really need to like understand your audience pain points, what they like, what entertains them, what will inspire them, and then write about that. There's like 5 to 10 common pain points that you could probably write about, that you could spin up. But a lot of people think they have this like original idea and they're like, why isn't it working on LinkedIn? Because it doesn't have an audience for it. So if you're not getting traction, like the way in the algorithm works is LinkedIn wants people to stay on the platform. So they're going to keep feeding the post to more and more people because they want people to stay. But if they're not feeding your post to more and more people, that means they don't think your post is valuable. I know that's a broad term, but valuable to your audience or entertaining or inspiring. So they're not going to feed your post to more and more people. So that's the number one thing, is that they don't do that. Secondly, they don't structure their post like with a hook. Like you got to draw someone in. Like the first couple sentences are the most important. And I also think images are hooks. Like I think if you like, one of the things that work really well on LinkedIn are images. So images are a good way to hook someone in and take up the whole feed. So having a hook is another thing. And then I think now is like a call to action, and a call to action to share, a call to action to comment, get more people in the feed. But you have to pay attention what platforms are doing. Like LinkedIn now has in the metrics shown like sends and saves as posts. So as a metric that is in their metric. So if those two things are what LinkedIn is trying to show you, so you should do things that are going to try to get your post sent in the DMs or saved. So if it's like guides or something that someone can come back later, or something that's funny that they will send to their friends or screenshot to their friends, or something that really sparks someone interest, or is something that's thought inspiring. You should do things that the platform wants if you want that. Otherwise, you can keep doing, you could keep trying whatever you're trying to do, but just know that it's not going to be seen by more and more people.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a challenge that a lot of people are having is like, what does the platform want? Right. Because it does change quite frequently where, there was a period of time where people would say, oh, answer this question in the comments, and, to try to get additional, people to comment on their post. And then LinkedIn started noticing. So if you wrote in your post that you were asking people for comments, then they would deprioritize it, right? Like the algorithm is constantly changing. There's always new kind of rules of what makes a post successful, what makes LinkedIn want to show it to more people. So you're bringing up, saves and sends. This is, something that's a little bit newer. So if you're operating on a strategy where you're trying to get more comments, and LinkedIn is now putting more value into saves, I guess, how do you keep up to date onto what it is from a technical perspective that LinkedIn wants? I think the thing you said is that like LinkedIn wants to keep people on LinkedIn, right? So that's one thing that is good to kind of just think about as a whole, right? Like, how do I keep people on the LinkedIn platform? But yeah, how do you keep up to date on the?
I think another mistake people make is if you want a channel to be your best channel, you have to give that channel 100% effort. And the way you give a channel 100% effort is you have to be, people might hate that I'm saying, you have to be a consumer on the platform and understand and look what is working on the platform. Like look what people in your niche, what's working in your niche. And it's obvious that what's getting fed and what's not if you are a consumer on the platform. But if you're there writing posts, posting and leaving the platform and then not coming back and not putting 100% effort, you're not going to get 100% results on the platform. Or another thing I see as a problem is people are on multiple platforms, like too many platforms at once, and they're spread too thin on those platforms. If you want LinkedIn to be your best channel, you got to focus 100% on LinkedIn as the channel. And then once you got LinkedIn to a level where it's repeatable, you're getting engagement, you're getting seen, then you could start moving to Instagram or X or whatever other channel you want to do. But I think a lot of people think that it's just like a post and I leave type channel, but that's not how social media works. And that's not how you win on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of those channels sort of require an individual strategy. So if you are 100% focused on LinkedIn, you can't just be taking LinkedIn content and putting it on Instagram. That's not going to work for you either place. So yeah, that recommendation of kind of focusing 100% on the channel that you want to grow is a great one. So let's jump into some of the tactics for creating good LinkedIn content. You already started to touch on a few, right? Understanding what people want to hear about, what questions do people have. I think of it similarly actually to search optimization. Like what topics do people have questions about? If you're answering people's keep me up at night questions on search or on LinkedIn or in other channels, that's how people are going to discover you. But yeah, how do you write a good LinkedIn, or I won't even say post, but just good LinkedIn content? And then how do you think about some of the different formats, like you mentioned, using images, or, let's jump into some of those best practices.
I think first is with AI, it's made it very easy to do research on what's working. So you can go on Perplexity or other places and say what is the top pain points for marketers that is showing up on Reddit, blah, 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 social. What are the top posts? You can go on Grok, that's X's tool, and see what are the top marketing posts going on. So you could, or whatever in your industry, you just add your industry and see what is trending in your industry and you'll have some ideas of what's working. You do the same thing on LinkedIn. Just see what's working. And when you see a post that is working or doing, save it and put it in your bank of posts to know like this is a format that works. This is something that doesn't work. Like have a swipe file of things that work and don't work. And you can go back to them and remix. The easiest way to start is remixing, like taking an idea and making it your own. So like if you see something that went the same, got some attention, you can take it for in another industry. That's why I always think that pay attention to not only your industry, pay attention to what's happening in other industries, because you could take ideas from other industries and put it for your industry. And now it's like a new original idea. That's what I kind of do sometimes with my meme templates is I will see, okay, this template is going good for finance. How could I make this a marketing meme or image or post because it's working for another industry, and how could I remix it to make it? So remixing is one easy way to do it. Also like going off of like news that is relatable right now. So if something just launched, like OpenAI is launching new ads, like what is your opinion on OpenAI launching ads on their platform? Is taking relatable content, because what works in content in general is doing things that are relatable to your audience. The best type of content is relatable. And I think whether it's relatable in the news, a relatable show someone's watching, that's why I think you need to start with understanding pain points, but also understanding your audience, what they like outside of their pain points. Like, is your audience mainly millennials? Do they like The Office? Do they like Friends? Are they watching The Bachelor? Like, what are they doing outside of work where you can bring in other things to make it relatable and use comparisons to things that they already know to make your content more interesting and spice it up?
Yeah. And I think that relatability and also authenticity really does perform well. And I found, like, with my own content on LinkedIn, if I try to craft something and I spend weeks making it perfect or whatever, like, it doesn't perform as well as the thing that you just like have an experience, write about it in a way that you've learned something, or you have new questions that you know are relatable to other people. Like something that it sort of, whenever I post something a little bit more in the moment and I don't overthink it, it tends to perform better. And I think that's like, that relatability and authenticity versus like trying to create a post or a piece of content that's gonna perform. Like, trying to create the performance is the thing that doesn't necessarily perform in my own experience.
Yeah, I think over-engineering posts are one thing, but I also think it's not and there are ways to just say, like, write a good hook, have an image have an idea that's performed in the past and redo it and it works. Like there are formulas to get a post to work multiple times. I think what the problem a lot of people don't do is repeat their winners. Like it works in everything you do in ads and social and something. If you have ideas that are winning, keep doubling down that. You can remix it and make it in different formats, different styles. You don't have to have a new idea every single day. Nobody's going to remember a post that you did 3 days away, 2 weeks. If I asked you right now, what you posted on Monday, March 31st, you're probably not, I don't even know that was Monday, but I would say, let's say I asked you what you posted 2 weeks ago. You might not, I bet you're going to have to go look at your audience. If you can't even answer that, why do you think your audience is going to remember what you posted 2 weeks ago? So you could remix as much as you want, and keep a running toll of like this idea perform, this idea. The beauty about organic social, it gives you signals of your idea is working or not, because you're not putting any paid behind it. It's saying like likes, shares, engagements are signals that this idea is interesting to that audience. Even if you get 50 likes, but it's 50 likes of your ICP, and everybody is in your ICP, you're like, okay, this one got 50 likes versus this one got 10. Like, why did this get 50 likes? Maybe we should repeat this in a different way. Maybe we should change the hook. Maybe we should change the image. Maybe we should do a different format and just try new things over and over. And you'll find repeatable ideas that are working over and over. So you don't have to spend so much time posting. It's more changing your ideas and saying the same thing over and over, because it is marketing. After all, it's like you want to stay in your audience top of mind with who you are over and over. That's why I think like if you have a repeatable format or repeatable messaging or repeatable thing, people will start knowing you for that idea that you repeating over and over and over and over, because that's how you stay top of mind. It's not saying 80 different things and trying to be 80 different things at once.
That's such great advice, because I think what holds a lot of people back. I get this question a lot from people about, how to post on LinkedIn effectively. Mm-hmm. And everyone feels held back by this need to create fresh content all the time. And what you're describing isn't that at all. It's this, create once, find what works, and double down on the thing that works, or like you say, remix it. And so maybe we can talk a little bit about that. But I love this concept of, sort of keeping that catalog outside of LinkedIn. I certainly don't do that. I don't know a lot of people who are like keeping a running tally of, what's working, or like you said, your comment bank. It sounds like there's like a lot of behind the scenes work that can actually make your efforts on the platform a lot more effective, which I think is a great piece of advice.
Yeah, I think, as marketers, we do it on every other channel that is not a paid. Like, you're not going to put out an ad on paid social and not like track like clicks, like impressions, ROAS, cost per click, cost per acquisition. And you're not going to just be like, oh, let's repeat this one because but I don't know the data behind it. Like you just look at the data, and if something performs once, it's probably going to perform multiple times. And that happens in ads too. If, like, people turn out their winners too soon, people take out their winning organic posts too soon, just keep repeating them. I also think there's another thing that I want to bring up is everybody has a different goal on a platform. Your goal might be to get impressions and be top of mind, to bring people off LinkedIn to get into your middle funnel. Your goal might be, this is my only channel, so I want to be the thought leader on this channel. Your goal might be I want to get leads for my business. You have to start with that in mind and reverse engineer that. And then also, I think you have to have like your hill you would die on, whatever. You need to have a content matrix of the hill you would die on, and always go back to like that messaging that you want to repeat over and over. So if your business is hill to die on is to say like, we believe everybody should content remix. So that's your belief. You can come up with multiple categories under that belief, and you'd always should connect back to that belief that you're trying to bring out into the world. So you should do that work ahead of time. So then you're not just throwing random things. The belief could like change wording to stick better, or you might believe that your belief actually nobody cares about, and we might have to redo our messaging. But start with something, and then you could rework it after data comes back, and you see, do I get engagement? Do I not? Do people care? Do people not care?
Yeah, that's a great approach, for sure. And I think it's an important point you made. You mentioned this earlier in the conversation about like what your audience actually cares about, and so figuring out if your core belief is something that people don't actually care about, then maybe that's a signal that you need to do some bigger work. But I think, yeah, like you would never, when it comes to advertising, you would never just like every week create a new ad. Just totally fresh, totally brand new, not related to anything that you had ever advertised before. You just wouldn't do that, and you wouldn't base it on zero data, right? So thinking about organic channels as a paid channel potentially is a way to help optimize it. I want to talk a little bit about maybe measuring some of those metrics. I think it's an important point you made that like everybody has a different goal. So it's important to understand what your goal is before you start measuring the effectiveness. But what are some of the metrics that you're tracking that are maybe leading indicators or to show that your efforts are working? And how do you separate like the metrics that really matter from maybe something that's a little bit more of a vanity metric?
It's funny because I don't think that any of those metrics are technically vanity metrics. I think some of them are leading indicators, and some are like metrics that that matter at the end of the day to your business. Like I think likes signal one thing. I think comments signal another thing. I like to look at, especially on is like shares, because I think if someone is sharing your post to other people, they're like double clicking your idea and sharing it to more. But a like is just like a nod that they're interested. A comment means you're doing something. There's a conversation starter, or you spark something in their mind. But a share is like, or a screenshot is where you want to get where the real virality happens, where people are sending it off platform, sharing in Slack channels. Like you should always, I always believe that you should optimize your content for shareability. Like if your idea is shared with more and more people, that's how you get more and more top of mind. That's how you create content that actually people care about. So I really double down on looking at the shares and sends, because I think that those are, and I do the same on Instagram. Like Instagram, I look, if my post I get a reshares, or remixes, or reshares, or shares to other people or sent in the DMs, I know that my content is relatable to my audience, and I should keep doing that piece of content.
Yeah, it's great. Getting it in front of multiple audiences beyond your own, right? That's how your audience grows too, with followers. And I find that, I think it's interesting. I don't know if LinkedIn breaks this down as well as like Instagram does, for example, where you can see the percentage of your engagement, even down to a specific post, of your followers and non-followers. But I think it's like, that's how you get to the non-followers, right? Is from people engaging with or sharing out your content to their audience.
It's also that, and it gets the non-followers because your followers are telling the algorithm that this post is relatable to them, and it should share to more people like them in the feed. So they're going to share it to more marketers if your audience. That's why I never recommend that you send a post to your whole company and your whole company likes it, because your whole company is like salespeople, CS, blah, blah, blah. So your whole feed is going to be, it's confusing the algorithm to say like it's liked by all these different ICP. It's not liked by your ICP. If they see it in the feed and like it, that's on them. But if that's a tactic that you're using to like get more likes, it shouldn't be, because it's confusing the post of who the true audience is for that post.
That's such an aha. That's like such a huge aha, because so many companies are doing that. And I see a lot of, engagement with, your own internal employees on company content. And it feels like, hey, LinkedIn's looking for you to comment on this, but if it's then going to show it to more HR directors and more CFOs, and you're trying to sell to marketers, then you're right. It's confusing LinkedIn as to whose audience, because your HR director and your CFO probably have other HR directors and CFOs in there.
Exactly. And then the problem is it'll go and trickle down and say, okay, maybe I should show it to a CFO, because CFOs aren't liking it because it's not relatable to them. And then HR director, show it to a couple of HR directors don't care because your audience is HR, and it's showing it to all these people. And then it's like, okay, I don't know who to show this to, so I'm not gonna. That's how I perceive it. I don't know if exactly that it works, but that's how it always is. If you get more marketers in your audience to like, if you have a marketing audience to like, and marketers are liking it, get shows to more marketers because it's relatable, and more marketers start liking it, and then it's this like trickle down effect of like, and of like more marketers getting shown to more marketers because it's relatable to marketers. So that's why you should look who's actually lagging a post. If it's hitting multiple people, that's probably not getting to who the person you want to get in front of.
Yeah, interesting. What's your opinion on hashtags on LinkedIn specifically?
I think hashtags is just a categorizing of posts. It just categorizes and says that, okay, this is a marketing post. I don't think it helps you get more in the algorithm or get more viral. It just helps categorize it. This is this type of post. So it's kind of like a tab. It's not like anything. It's not a negative to do it, but if you have so many of them, it doesn't work. And I think even LinkedIn said, I saw someone say this, LinkedIn said that it doesn't really help you get more views. So, or more impressions. So you need to do that.
I guess I brought it up just in the conversation about the personas, right? And like if I hashtag marketing on my post, is it an indication to the algorithm that this post is about marketing? Categorize it in that way and show it to more marketers. But
yeah, I think it also, I think it will help like push it more to but again, it'll categorize it and then it will start saying, show this to more marketers. And if marketers don't care, then it flops. So like, that's why I said the number one thing is relatability when it comes to content. And you have to know that relatability. And it doesn't matter. I think people chase that virality number, and I've done it multiple times. I know, like, I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't chased going viral before. But I do think that having 100 people in your audience, perfect ICP liking your post versus 500 of random people, it's way better to have that 100 of your ICP liking your post than 500 random people.
For sure. Now, when you're measuring success, are you using LinkedIn's native like reporting tools, or are you using something else on top of it?
No, the native reporting tools. I'm not using. I mean, I think LinkedIn has gotten way better at showing at least most of the metrics that people care about. But I think there's ways to create business of, like, I think people are saying don't post links on LinkedIn. You can do links, but there's a certain way to post links.
Sure.
If you want to drive people off the platform, there's certain ways to get people to do things to get them off the platform. So you can do things to get people off the platform. You just have to play the game. I think you have to play by the rule book to win on a platform. And it happens at any game, any sport. Right? You have to know the rule book first, and then you can bend the rules after you know the rule book. But if you don't know the rule book, it's hard to win at the game. So
the reason I asked about the reporting is like I tend to have a hard time like identifying ICP in the LinkedIn reports, right? Because everybody is categorized as business development or whatever. And I'm like, well, who are the people that are seeing and engaging with this post if everybody is business development, I'm sure.
I mean, you're signaling, if it is opposed to business development care about, then you're actually signaling the right, because my reporting says like marketing executive, marketing specialist, head of marketing, like all, if I look at the front and it's like everybody has a marketing title. So I know that it's marketers that are liking my posts. So if it's business development people who you care about, then it could be like that, or that's what your posts are, what are signaling more to business development people.
Yeah, I guess that's a category. It's like a job role in LinkedIn that is very broad, and it throws a lot of people into the business development category that I don't think are necessarily business development. Like if you actually look at their titles.
I think the next step to do, if you don't do that, is go look at the people liking and commenting your posts and go look at the job title. That's one thing that's amazing about LinkedIn, is they have job titles on the other than other platforms. Like on Facebook, you don't have job titles. On Instagram, some people put their job on and some don't in their bio, but you don't have that. So LinkedIn, you can go say, okay, look, these are all my likes. Okay, let me audit these 10 and then go click on these 10 and say, okay, these are all my ICP or these are none of my ICP.
Right.
I'm doing something wrong. So that's how I would do the reporting is I'll go look and say, okay, oh, this person, or your comments, these people are in my audience. It's signaling good that my post is getting fed to the right people.
Yeah. I think that's such an important step because like we were talking about, like likes are indicating one thing, comments might indicate something else. If you are getting likes and comments and shares and follows from the wrong, audience, let's say even your employees aside, right? If you're not doing that strategy of asking your employees to engage with your content, I've seen companies get really a lot of incredible engagement from job seekers. They post a lot of great content about their company culture and who they are as a business, but it's not their buyers. And their goal is to get their buyers engaging with their content. So if you just look at likes and comments and those raw numbers, it's going to look like, hey, we're doing really well on LinkedIn. But taking that next step that you described of like, well, who are those people that are engaging? And what are their job titles? What companies are they working for? Will help you figure out if the content is reaching the right audience.
Yeah, it's interesting you said, because I think too many companies say, okay, LinkedIn's this checkbox of, okay, let me just post this role, check. Let me just post that we're doing a webinar, check. Let me do this, check. And it's like they're trying to follow a content calendar that works for them. But the problem with social in general is social is there's evergreen. I like to categorize posts into three different things. I think there's evergreen content, which is like pain point content that will always work for my audience. So those are like tried or true posts that will always work. And then there's like what is trending right now that I can remix for my industry. That's another. And I know that will work too because it's relatable right now. And then there's another level is like original ideas that I'm testing all the time. And you should have banks of like, these are evergreen posts that will always work. These are things that are happening right now in the industry that I want to get on top of because the news cycle is happening right now. And if I miss the news cycle, I'm going to be out of it. And then the testing bucket, which the testing bucket gets moved to evergreen if it starts working. So you have that. If you have those three categories of posts, you will end up having a pretty decent strategy of getting stuff in the feed.
Yeah, and it's not overcomplicated. It's really simple, actually. The way you're describing it, it sounds simple, right, and easy. It doesn't have to be over-engineered or anything.
No, I think a lot of people. It comes down to maybe you're uncomfortable posting certain things or you think your idea is better than what your audience cares about. So your idea in your head wins over what actually your audience cares about. And you have to if you want to be in the feed, you have to do everything your audience cares about and nothing about yourself. You got to be totally helpful or like entertaining or inspiring and for your audience and nothing about yourself. And you can throw in a couple things about yourself because people will do things for you once they become fans. But if they're not fans, they're not going to do anything for you. So that's why I like doing 80-20, like 80%. This content is 0 click. I don't care about a click. Like Amanda Natevi says, 0 click content. This is like things I'm throwing out to the world for helpful. And then I'm going to throw out that event I'm going to do that I hopefully you attend, or I'm going to throw out a job post, or I'm going to throw out this and in the mix of those 80% of helping people while you're growing.
Yeah, I love that. It's just add value and then you earn the right to ask for something in return at some point. Just can't do it all the time. Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today, Daniel, and for sharing your tips on how to grow organically on LinkedIn.
Well, thank you for having me. And You all are doing some good stuff, so keep it up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Please, everybody, make sure you're following Daniel on LinkedIn for his insights. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to Marketing Demystified wherever you get your podcasts, and join us next time for more conversations that help demystify the complex world of marketing. We'll see you then.
Thanks so much for listening. Keep tuning in to hear more great insights from the coolest marketers from around the world. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and follow the Marketing Millennials podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, I would greatly appreciate you giving us a 5-star rating. It helps bring more marketers into our community.